Of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, and I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioners Cavell. Yes. Erickson Galt. Here. Gershenson is excused. Gingell is excused. Hoffman. Present. Johnson is excused. Joliet. Here. Long. Here. Lubes. Here. Markham. Here. Miller. Here. Nelson. Here. Powell. Rahman.
Present. Testing.
Smith Charles.
Present.
Spiz is excused. Taylor.
Here.
Whitebert. Here. Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The invocation this morning is going to be led by the Honorable Karen Joliet. So, Commissioner Joliet, come forward. If commissioners can please rise, the invocation will also be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. In honor of Women's History Month, let us offer a prayer and invocation. Dear Lord, we thank you for the rich history of women's contributions to society as we celebrate Women's History Month. May this month be a time for introspection, gratitude, and inspiration. Bless us with a deeper knowledge of the significance of acknowledging and preserving women's different tales throughout history. May we recognize the long, storied events of great women who have helped our nation build a fairer, more just society. Let us continue working to build a world worthy of dreams and goals for all women, girls, and citizens alike. In your name we pray, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, we got the approval of the minutes, dated February 29th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Commissioner Lube, seconded by Commissioner Smith Charles. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes have been approved unanimously. And I need a motion to move approval of the agenda as presented. Moved by Commissioner Hoffman, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Let the records reflect that the agenda has been approved unanimously. This will now move us on to presentations. We've got some awards and a couple presentations this morning. And as Commissioner Joliet mentioned, this is Women's History Month. Last week was International Women's Day, and today we have the awards of Oakland County's Women's History Month, the presentation of Oakland County's Women's History Month Awards. And so I will call on Commissioner Powell to lead us through that process.
Good morning, everyone. I am Commissioner Angela Powell, and I represent District 9, which includes portion of the city of Pontiac and Bloomfield Township. Welcome to the women here to accept. Welcome to the women here to accept the award. Welcome to the women here to accept the awards and their family and friends with them today. I'm so glad to see you all here. 2024 is now our third year. We have presented Women's History Month Awards, and it is our honor to highlight the important work and accomplishments of some of the incredible women in this county. Every year since 2022, each of us commissioners has been invited to submit the name of a woman in our district deserving of this recognition. We have honored a number of history-making women over the past 3 years, all residents of Oakland County who have improved the lives of others through personal and professional contributions. This morning, we are celebrating March as Women's History Month with 3 extraordinary women who are leaving their mark and blazing trails for others to follow. So let's get started. Before I start, I want to bring up Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Erickson Gold to join me. And I will kick things off. And I'm going to start with a wonderful individual from the city of Pontiac. And her name is Rosa Randolph. And I'll bring you up shortly. Rosa Randolph is a resident of Pontiac, is a minority business owned, and the president of Unique Food Management, a catering company. The full-service, off-premises catering business based in Pontiac prepares and delivers over 25,000 meals per week to a diverse client base. Born and raised in Tennessee, she has a very, I know Miss Randolph, her history and just the food industry and it's just amazing of where she's at now. But born and raised in Tennessee, Miss Randolph earned a full academic scholarship to Tennessee State University. She completed her education in Michigan and went on to a 19-year career in food service management at several major medical facilities before launching Unique Food Management in 1992. Anytime, and I mean anytime you reach out to her and let her know that someone is in need of food, Ms. Randolph goes extremely out her way to make sure she can help. She is the founder and program director of the Pontiac Meals on Wheels Foundation, and during the summer months, she also helps ensure students have meals when school is not in session. Thank you so much, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because you know food starvation is not a good feeling when you can't eat. Just thank you so much for stepping up and being that bridge to reduce food insecurity in our community. May I bring up Rosie Randolph? And I do also have, I'm gonna do another presentation, a proc for you, because you're deserving of that too. But you were my woman's choice for this month for the city of Pontiac. And so we'll take a picture and then I'll let you say a few words if you would like. Come on, share us with some motivational words. Come on, Rose.
I wasn't prepared for this. I want to say thank you so much for the award. I appreciate it. It was totally a surprise to me, but I love Pontiac. I love the seniors and I love the kids. So we spent a lot of time today just making both. As I tell everybody, we feed the kids and the singing, and that's my mission.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I turn it over to Ms. Taylor.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. I have the privilege of introducing one of Southfield's finest, one of Oakland County's finest. Ms. Kylisa Anderson of Southfield has been an entrepreneur for more than 30 years. She is the owner and operator of Chic Unique on North Park Drive in the city of Southfield, which is a full-service salon offering hair, facial, and nail services. Over the past 3 decades, she has built a loyal clientele through professional and quality service, earning a near perfect rating in Google reviews. Ms. Anderson is a generous and knowledgeable individual who dedicates her time to her community and has helped several other entrepreneurs as they start their business. Please help me to welcome Ms. Kylisa Anderson.
Thank you. First, I would like to give honor to God, who is the head of my life. I am truly honored and grateful to receive this award. A heartfelt thank you to Lenny Taylor and the commissioners of Oakland County. I am grateful for this recognition to my colleagues, my family, my friends, my church, for their unwavering support and belief in me. As I celebrate my 38th year as a salon owner, I started at a young age of 21. And I really enjoyed the service and servicing people. And I met so many fine people that have become to be my family. This acknowledges my efforts and hard work do pay off. And I will continue to strive to help the community and help businesses to develop their business. This is 43 years. I think I started in 1977 in this career path. And I will continue to help people and continue to just help businesses grow. And I'm so grateful for this honor and this award. And I just want to thank you all that supported me that came out today. Thank you. I'm just a little bit emotional because it's been a challenging year, but God is good. Thank you.
And now I'll turn over to Commissioner Galt.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. I'm Ann Erickson Galt, and I represent Commission District 3, which includes Hazel Park, Madison Heights, and parts of Troy. And I have the enormous pleasure this morning to present this award to Vital Ane. As a resident of Troy for 2 decades, Vital Ane made local history as the first immigrant and first person of South Asian and Indian descent to serve on the Troy School District Board of Education. Following that appointment, she went on to win her seat through a citywide election and currently serves as the board's vice president. Ms. Ane has 30 years of experience as a STEM professional and engineer and holds a mechanical engineering degree from Andhra University College of Engineering and a master's in mechanical engineering, specializes in biomechanics from Purdue University. She's a vice president of software quality assurance and testing at global technology company Altair. There she serves as president of Altair's Women in Tech Employee Resource Group, uplifting and mentoring her fellow female colleagues. In addition, she has coached Baker and Larson Middle School students to compete in the Science Olympiad for 5 years. Ms. Ane and her husband have 2 daughters who are alumni of the Troy School District. Please come up.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Erickson Galt and the rest of the county commissioners. It is an incredible honor for this recognition for this Women's History Month. It is both humbling and empowering at the same time, being a recipient of this and standing before you with this recognition. I'm truly grateful to be acknowledged among so many countless women that do so much in our community. Remarkable women who have paved their way through progress, equality, and change. My journey started for very selfish reasons. I have 2 daughters, and I wanted to make sure they have educational experiences and life that is the best. So I started volunteering with that very selfish reason. Wanted to provide the environment and opportunity that allowed them to succeed and to advance. But in that process, I could help a lot more. And as they grew up and went off to college, I continued these activities, recognizing that there is a need for representation and advocating for children, all children, children of color, children of immigrants, special needs children, English learners, everybody, and advocating for public education, children, especially in STEM area, me being an engineer. And green energy initiatives are some of my passions. As I accept this recognition, I recognize that our work is far from over. There is still many barriers to break, stereotypes to dismantle, and many opportunities to create. Thank you.
In closing, I just want to thank all of the individuals who were honored today, and just thank you for your continued work. You help those communities thrive, and we all have our part to do, but you all continue to do the good work, and I'm so appreciative. When I started this concept of wanting to honor women 3 years ago, I'm just excited that our commissioners still participate to make sure we highlight the individuals that's doing the work in our communities. So thank you all for coming today. And do y'all have any closing words? No? Oh, and then all honorees, can you all join us in the hall, and family and friends if you would like to too. We're going to take a group picture out in the hallway. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our accomplished women that we recognize today. Okay, they're going to go take a photo out there, but we're going to move on because we've got a number of things to accomplish. So, Oakland Community Health Network is in the house? Yes. And to give our quarterly updates about activities that OCHN is doing to provide, to address and meet the needs of mental health across our county. We welcome you, and thank you, Megan, for being here today.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. First, I want to start off by saying thank you very much to the county commissioners for inviting me to speak today and to provide you with information for what we are doing for substance use disorder services for our Oakland County residents. So first and foremost, my name is Megan Phillips. I'm the Director of SUD Services at Oakland Community Health Network. The first part that I want to start off with, in your civic track, you have a 3-page handout that outlines the SUD fiscal year 24 through 26, our 3-year strategic plan goals. And I'd like to bring this up and to make the differentiation with our strategic plan. OCHN as a whole, we have a strategic plan, but our specific SUD department, we also drill down and do our own specific strategic plan for the state. And the reason for that is the funding we receive from SAMHSA requires that we have a very specifically outlined strategic plan for what our goals are. With our strategic plan, it has 9 sections. They are specific narratives that are given by MDHHS that we have to respond to. So these narratives cannot be changed by the PIHP. We must go through and answer the direct questions that they are asking. The process for the SUD strategic plan and our needs assessment is also a little different than the OCHN larger one that we do, in that we have small work groups that we invite community members and community partners to attend, and what we do is we examine all the countywide data, take in information from our provider network to determine what are our needs and what are the trends we are seeing that we should be addressing over the next 3 years. So in terms of the services that we provide, we have, through our provider network, we have outpatient services. And within outpatient, case management is provided. So with case management, those case managers are really providing the non-clinical services, anything a person might need, transportation, housing, do they need help identifying sources for food in the community, shelter, clothing. We also then have peer recovery coaches that are embedded as well. So our peer recovery coaches are individuals who have lived experience that are actively in recovery, and they work with that individual who is newly on the recovery journey to help be that mentor, help be that person who's been there, and help them navigate as they're moving through that first beginning part and as they start to move through their journey of recovery. Also, we offer recovery housing services. So for some individuals, they might be coming out of a longer-term residential treatment and be in need of housing services, or they could be a person who is living in the community with a substance use disorder, and they find themselves in an unhealthy living environment that doesn't support their recovery journey. And so with that, we are able to fund, typically it's 90 days of recovery housing services. It can go more if there is the need for it. And then during that person's time in housing, they are working with their outpatient counselor and case manager to also identify their longer-term housing needs. Then, of course, we have medication-assisted treatment. Medication-assisted treatment is considered best practice for those with an opioid use disorder. MAT services, as we call it, occur at an outpatient level. A person receives clinical outpatient services coupled with medication for their opioid use disorder. Medications that we use are all FDA approved, and those are Suboxone or some form of that, could be Subutex or Sublocade, methadone, and Vivitrol. We have withdrawal management services that are also typically covered with our residential services. So withdrawal management takes place over a course of 3 to 5 days, dependent upon an individual's substance that they use. And then typically they will transfer over into a residential treatment stay. Typical treatment lengths can range anywhere from 7 to 30 days in our short-term residential. All of our treatment services, everything, the length of stay is determined by what we call ASAM criteria, the American Society of Addiction Medicine. And it is all based on clinical need and medical necessity, as well as person's input in determining what are their treatment needs and how long would their treatment length be in those services. We also offer at the outpatient level, as well as the withdrawal management and residential level, women's specialty services. What is fantastic about this for anyone who is a primary caregiver, which can also be a man, it is called women's specialty, and that name is given by the state, but also men could be the primary caregiver for their child. And when that occurs, there can be situations where a parent, in order for them to receive a higher level of care, like withdrawal management or residential services, they would need to take their child to treatment with them. And our provider network, we have specialty designated women's specialty providers that allow that. And they're set up to allow for their kids to be able to come in. School is set up where the kids get on the bus every day at the treatment center and they go to school. And then for those who aren't school age, there's daycare on site that allows for the kiddos to be looked after while the parent is receiving their treatment services. At an outpatient level, daycare is also provided on site, as well as transportation for that primary caregiver, because transportation could be a barrier for that parent to receive those services. One of my favorite services, well, they're all my favorite, but one of my favorite services that we offer here to our Oakland County residents is the Sober Support Unit. What is fantastic about this unit, it allows an Oakland County resident to access the higher level of care services, withdrawal management or residential, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it can be Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, 2 in the morning. If a person says, I want to go into treatment right now, if they've been taken to the ED due to an overdose and they say, pardon me, that's emergency department, if they say, I want to go to treatment right now, they have the ability to do so by going to the Sober Support Unit. And what that looks like for the person who comes onto that unit, they are greeted by paramedics, peer recovery coaches. They are given a bed, a room, food. They're made comfortable. They are given basic comfort medications to help with to help with their withdrawal symptoms. And then they are connected with OCHN's Access Center, and we get them into services with our withdrawal management or residential provider in 24 hours or less. Our contracts have specific agreements with specific providers that offer the immediate availability for our SSU individuals. Another service that we offer to the community is the RISE Center. That stands for Recovery, Information, Support, and Education. Our RISE Center is located at the Resource and Crisis Center, and essentially it is staffed by a case manager, and any basic non-long-term case management needs that anyone from the public might have can be met by coming in to meet with someone there. So if someone from the community had a need for wanting to know shelters, food options, I can't pay a utility bill, what are my options for that? They are able to walk in at any time or have a phone call with the case manager there and be provided with the resources. Oakland Community Health Network, we are the public safety net for the community. So specifically for SUD services, we service those who have Medicaid. We also receive funding from the state called block grant funding, and that allows us to service individuals who have no insurance. And for individuals who have no insurance, we can completely cover the cost of all their treatment needs. We also, for those who might have a third-party insurance, so they might have one of the private insurances that they receive from a spouse, a parent, or loved one, what we know is that just because a person has a third-party insurance doesn't mean that they can actually afford it. And their coinsurance, their deductibles, their co-pays, they're unaffordable to them. And the cost of going into treatment, it could cost them $4,000 to go into residential treatment by using that private insurance. And people can't afford that offhand. And so what we are able to do with our block grant funding, our RISE Center staff, they will connect with the person served, identify their insurance, obtain that information about what their costs are out of pocket, and then we step in and we fund those individuals. We call those underinsured individuals, and we will fund their treatment. For fiscal year 23, there was 183 individuals, Oakland County residents, that we funded. One of our projects that we have as well are the Save a Life stations. Our prevention provider, the Alliance, they are our provider who is responsible for the overseeing of our Save a Life stations. I love our Save a Life stations. They are fantastic. This has grown widely in less than a year. I know we have to update this slide. There is more than 48 boxes right now. I believe we are at 83 boxes throughout the county, and we expect by October there will be at least 100 boxes in Oakland County. And what's great about these is it is low barrier options for people to receive Narcan, fentanyl testing strips, xylazine testing strips, as well as treatment materials, as well as prescription disposal kits that families are able to use at home to dispose of any prescription medication that they have. So the Alliance, they continue to restock the boxes. They identify the data for where the highest needs are. And on the PowerPoint, if you want to know where all the locations are, you can click on the map, and they have an interactive map that pulls up all of their locations. And then just in partnership with the Oakland County Health Division, they have Narcan vending machines that they have done. They have also put the county's Narcan vending machine locations as well on their interactive map. Other grant projects that we have. So underneath our different funding streams, obviously we have our treatment services and our prevention services that we do for the community, but then we also receive specialty grant dollars for the states for those more non-traditional programs. Some of those things that we fund through our provider network are the SUD and opioid health home. Don't let the name home fool you. It is not an actual home. home. What it is essentially, it is a service that a person receives at their outpatient provider, and it's a care coordination service. And the intent of it is to help bridge that gap with integrated care for physical health and behavioral health. So the person's outpatient provider, as we're working on their behavioral health, they can also work with the person to say, have you been to a dentist lately? When's the last time you saw your PCP? And then you might have someone who says, but I don't have a PCP yet, and I don't even know who might take my insurance for a dentist, or I don't have insurance to see a dentist. And the health home, the model of it, and it being a care coordination service, that's what allows for a provider to help to provide the person with more in-depth services and be reimbursed by the state for that. We also have our jail mat services. In partnership with the Oakland County Jail, Oakland Community Health Network, we fund the jail mat services that are received in the jail for individuals who live in Oakland County. For those individuals who are out of county, we also oversee that project for the county, and the funds that are used for that are the opioid settlement dollars. Individuals in the jail are receiving clinical services from our contracted provider, Sacred Heart. They have a peer recovery coach, and then they're also receiving one of the 3 medications, methadone, Vivitrol, or Suboxone. Individuals are able to come into the jail, and if they were receiving that medication before coming into the jail, they're able to remain on it. And because what we see with the data is that there is a significant amount of people who overdose from opioids when they leave the jail, we will also start individuals on a MAT medication while in the jail. Due to DEA regulations, the only medication no one can be started on in the jail is methadone. Oh, pardon me. We also have our controlled substance management device. This was a project that one of our providers did from Therapeutics, essentially for those who receive methadone treatment. Methadone for take-home doses people would receive, it would go home in a lockbox. Well, what our provider did was they developed a box that operates on a biometric fingerprint. So the box will only open to dispense someone's methadone medication to them at certain times and with their fingerprints. We also fund an SBIRT, which is Screening Brief Intervention, Relapse and Treatment, a liaison that's embedded at the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. The intent of that is to help with any diversion possible for someone who could be incoming into the legal system. We also, for our MAT providers, we provide transportation funding to them. MAT is a service typically that requires, especially for methadone, it will require someone to go to a clinic daily and dose. Transportation, as we know, can be a huge barrier for a person. So anyone receiving MAT services, they have the ability to receive this grant funding from their provider, and it's done via Uber, Lyft, bus tickets, just depends on where the person lives and what is needed. And then the last is one of our new programs that we just recently released around November of this past year. It's our housing assistance program. And essentially what it does is for those who are enrolled at an OCHN contracted SUD provider, these housing assistance funds are meant to assist an individual with first month's deposit, rental assistance, any utility startup needs that they have. And so what they're able to do is apply for those funds through their outpatient provider. It comes to us, we give the approval, and we are able to then help people who are working towards their recovery get into a stable housing situation and continue on that journey. So that is an overview of our services. With what you see on the screen here right now, currently OCHN, they are working on their needs assessment, and we are looking for feedback from community stakeholders, and so that way we can determine what is the feedback from the public and what our need is. So please feel free to scan that QR code and pass this out far and wide. Also, another QR code, which is our constant contact information. If you scan that, that will save us into your phone. And with that, I thank you very much for having me here today. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Megan. Do commissioners have any questions? We have time for a couple questions. Dr. Ajay Raman. Commissioner Dr. Ajay Raman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's great, very informative. I learned quite a bit through this as well, so thank you. One question I had was regarding the Save a Life stations.
Yes.
Phenomenal that you guys are expanding as rapidly as you are. What is the process for determining where the stations are located? Is it an application process? And then how do we get more? For instance, I wanted more in my district, because I'm looking at the map here as you were speaking, and my little corner of the world, as you get to the southwest corner, seems a little bit more sparse than others. So if you could speak to that, please.
Yes, so with the rollout of the Save a Life boxes, what the Alliance looked at was the countywide data, and they looked at where were the most overdoses occurring, where was the greatest, highest need for them to get out to first. And so with that, it was determined what those areas are. Really, the Pontiac area is where it started. And so from there, they've just been expanding out with anybody who is reaching out and saying they have an interest in it. We fund these under our state opioid response grant funds. So even once we reach 100, we're very able and willing to go more and higher with that number. So if you are absolutely interested in that, we can make sure that you have the contact information for the person at the Alliance who oversees it. Not an application process at all, just a matter of talking to the Alliance, telling them what the interest is, and then looking at throughout the community where would be the best locations. Yeah.
Great question. Any other questions for Megan? Okay, you get off easy today.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Megan. Thank you to OCHN. Yep. We truly, I mean, our partnership with OCHN goes back many years. We've expanded program after program. I think it's partly replicated by how many services are available and how important it is to the residents of this county. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Next up, we have one more presentation for our friends to not only remind us where we've come, but to tell the story of how Oakland County is created. We've got a presentation from the Oakland County Historical Commission. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Dave Decker. I'm the chair of the Oakland County Historical Commission, and I really do want to thank you for taking the time to see me today and listen to me speak a little bit about what we're up to and where we're going and really where we've been. A slide that you see in front of you now shows essentially two documents. They show, and no one ever can read this, by the way, I can't even read it. It really represents that there were 8 people in February and into February of 1819 and into 1820 that were organizing the county, and they were called commissioners. There were 8 of them. They were the people that essentially put together the plan to present to the governor to create Oakland County. And so what I wanted to say was that before there was a board of commissioners, before there was a board of supervisors, there were commissioners. And so you stand and you sit in a position that has existed for 225 years or more. So just know that you have a legacy that goes back quite a ways. And really, I just admire the Board of Commissioners. I admire all of you and what you do. But I just wanted to give you a little bit, plant that in your consciousness. One of the things to remember too, that I'm going to actually step back a slide, see if it'll do it. Just to stay off the bios for a minute. Local history is, to me, it's a passion of mine, but more importantly, for a lot of communities and for a lot of people, it provides them a sense of place to know where, that the ground that they stand on, that the building that they're in, that the family that they're from has some grounding in the past. And when you stand on Oakland County ground, know that you stand where people have lived for thousands of years. We have been here a long time, and that history is all around you. It is under us. Right outside this auditorium is a historical marker that can tell you a little more about Oakland County's history, but that marker also stands on the property line for an estate that was the former home of a governor of Michigan right before the Civil War. It's all around us. We stand where people have stood for many, 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 many years. And so I just like people to know that we're grounded in history everywhere. When you think about the Oakland County Historical Commission, we are a volunteer body. We have typically 9 members, currently short 1. And these are the folks. We can go into the bios of these folks if you want to. We can talk about them behind their backs because most of them aren't here. But we do have Carol Egbo and Dave Walls. They are our 2 of our members. What you have in our commission is a really dedicated group of people who are passionate about sharing Oakland County's history, providing resources and support and research and knowledge to organizations, to the Board of Commissioners, to whoever wants it, about what our history is about and about where we came from and how this place came to be. In that, and part of our mission, part of what we like to do is to put that out into the communities. And so our commission is spread around the county. We do not just necessarily focus on one place or one time period or one series of events. It's all over, it's everywhere. But I would like to I'm actually just gonna move on. I'm a little nervous, can you tell?
You're doing great.
Thank you. For quite a while, there is a perception, and maybe it's my own perception, that the Historical Commission operated almost as an island within the government of the county. It is a volunteer organization, and we generally don't fit into the org chart. So we don't generally get, or didn't seem to feel, and I think maybe this is just a perception some prior members had, that we didn't really have a deep support system within the county government. And I believe that post-COVID and in the last couple of years, that has dramatically changed because we have been given opportunities and support from the Board of Commissioners and from the county government that's amazing. We know that there's a lot to do to recover from COVID. Historical organizations, historical bodies, and people during the COVID during COVID and after, there has essentially been a pretty good-sized collapse of interest in local history and in historical organizations, directly because people couldn't visit the sites, they couldn't go to the venues, they couldn't get there, and that has been something that we've been working with a lot of people to fix, to get back out there and reinvigorate the local historical community and to have events and to do things and to celebrate our history. And to do that, we've been working with the History Coalition of Oakland County, which is a group of organizations. I think there's about 50 of them that are around the county that meet on a quarterly basis to discuss whatever's important to local historical societies and museums. It's a really great group of people, and anyone's welcome to attend a History Coalition meeting. So if anyone wants to do that, feel free to contact me, or I'll be around for a while. We can certainly make that happen. Another coalition that exists that was put together in 2019 and kind of went into remission during COVID and is now reinvigorating itself is the Cemetery Coalition of Oakland County. And that is a group of people who are absolutely committed to saving the history and preserving the monuments and the landmarks of our cemeteries. There are about 65 people that get together and supporting about 30 cemeteries. They are but they are very important landmarks in our community, and I really celebrate that. As we've been moving through this post-recovery period, one of the things that's been happening is a reinvigoration of the commission's, of our commitment to work with the county and the county government and its departments to leverage our history better. I can't acknowledge enough how much it's meant to us to be able to work with the clerk, the Register of Deeds, to get land records and property records and their tremendous archive of historical information that's in the basement of this building. It's an amazing thing to think about how we're going to be able to work with that. We work with economic development and with Advantage Oakland to work with historical districts, work on historical structures, work on their preservation, work on redevelopment, repurposing of structures, and providing advice to them and getting feedback from them has been extremely important and really, really beneficial for us. County parks and their commitment to history. Carol is the consultant, she calls herself, but really she's actually, in my view, Oakland County's historian and the historian for Oakland County Parks. One thing to remember about Oakland County Parks is that many of them are built on historical land. They are important historical landmarks all on their own. So it's exciting to work with parks and with their ability to provide resources and trucks and transportation and all kinds of things for local historical organizations is absolutely huge. It's great. It's an awesome thing. And working with the communications department at the county here has been absolutely wonderful as we rebuilt our website, rebuilt our social media presence, rebuilt our branding. All of those things have been absolutely wonderful as we've moved forward and begun to bring things back together. I have to acknowledge in this Joanne Stringfellow and Sarah Moreau and Kathleen London and Andrea and any of the staff here at the BOC, all of you have been just really, really great to work with. And I thank you personally for the help that we've gotten. That's been wonderful. There we go. She said it's going to take a minute to move between the slides because I put a lot of, my presentation's large, even though it's quite small. Things we've done in 2021 to 2023. We rebuilt our website. Our website was a really great resource for people that were interested in finding about some of the resources we had at Oakland County, but we didn't really have good information for people that wanted to learn more about Oakland County's history directly at their fingertips. And so we've been working very hard to pull together a lot of content to get information out there into the public for tourists, people coming to visit a county, people that are interested in working on their home, any number of different reasons. But we really did a good job, and that was a big effort on the part of the county because as we were trying to update our content on the website, they were reinventing the whole website. So it was a bit of a challenge. We've updated a lot of our display materials and our booths and our branding so that we can go to events and present ourselves well and really enjoy mixing with the public and historical enthusiasts and people that want to celebrate history. We undertook with, this is generally just after post-COVID, we began a project to work with our libraries to present local history as a subset of American history. This is taking things that have happened in Oakland County and putting them in a national spotlight so that we would know or be able to share with the public things that have happened that where Oakland County affected national history. That has been a good project. We put out 2 pilot posters into virtually every library in the county to see how that would go and kind of measure how things would happen. And as a result, what we learned were a couple of things. Number one, we were a little ahead of our time in getting the posters out there. They need to be branded a little better. They need to be, this is just basically responses that we got from libraries and from some of the patrons, that they just needed a little more work. And we also need to revisit some of our topics and revisit those demographics a little better. So we're going to be rolling that out. Our next poster is about African American history and the Great Migration into Oakland County. That will be coming out sometime this spring. But we've got more work to do on that. We've been working very closely with the Birmingham Museum and a project with 5 separate communities to celebrate and learn more about the Underground Railroad activity that was happening in Oakland County. And that has resulted in a set of banners and a really wonderful looking display and some presentations that are currently rolling out over the county. And that has been met with a great deal of good response, and we support that project just fully. We've learned so much and learned. I'm amazed and overwhelmed sometimes when I look at that material at what these people did and how they did it. What an amazing group of people. And then finally, Oakland County's Pioneer and Historical Society turns 150 years old this year. It's the oldest operating historical society in the state, and for all intents and purposes, it's the County Historical Society with a lot of old county information, county history. It's absolutely a great resource for people, and we want to help them celebrate their year by supporting some lectures and presentations around the county. So that's been a great thing to be involved in. And in our current initiatives, underway and ongoing, we're going to continue to support the Underground Railroad in Oakland County project. It has received a second round of grant funding, and so we're going to be continuing that project to expand it into more communities. We're going to be continuing to the library poster project so that we can continue to put more information about how important Oakland County was and is to American history. We really are, and it's a very important thing for us. And finally, to get keep the Oakland County Pioneer Historical Society people happy, we're going to keep supporting their lecture series and helping them gain venues and more presence around the county. We're also in the process of building out some resources, historic preservation guides for people that have historic homes, how to research their homes and their land, how to do essentially research and that. We want to maintain we have one, but we want to maintain it a little more. Property at-risk register, which is essentially any property at risk in Oakland County, and where can we help with that, essentially? How can we help preserve structures, repurpose buildings, redevelop? How can we maintain and protect that history? And working with, we're going to be developing guides on getting state and national marker. That process is a complicated, long process. We can help you streamline it. Let's figure out how we can do that so that we can get more places recognized for their significance in history. And then continue to do culturally appropriate, equitable, and inclusionary historic resources. Let's put together histories of things that are underrepresented in our county. Let's talk about women's history and Black history and LGBTQ history and any other areas where we want those histories to be told. And we've got some things coming up in the future that we've kind of got on the planning table. We've got America's 250th anniversary coming up. There are a lot of communities that are going to want to celebrate that. How can we help them do that? What are the resources that they're going to need? How can we point them to the right places to do things like time capsules or oral histories or whatever they'd like to do? And helping communities celebrate their bicentennials. Oakland County's communities, their villages at Farmington just celebrated their 200th year. Pontiac celebrated theirs a couple of years ago. There's a number of places that are turning 200 years old, and we want to help them do that. A stronger community presence. We want to be at history events. We want to be out there in the community and let people know that we're here. And finally, we want better access to resources. COVID taught us that people need to know how to get to history and history resources. Online, offline, where are they? What kind of finding aids are available at different historical societies around our county? How can we make that better? But the biggest and most important question in my mind, is what can we do for you? What can we do for the Board of Commissioners? What can we do in your districts to help you celebrate your history, the history of your towns, your villages, your people? Where can we fit in helping you, and what resources do you need from us to be able to do that? That's the most important question and the most important part of our whole presentation. I ran through the slides simply to kind of get them out of the way to get to this question. Are there things that you think we should be doing better? Are there things that you think we can improve? Are there ways that we can help you? And so I'm just going to open the floor. Anyone have anything for me?
If commissioners have a couple questions, we have a little time. I will start with with Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Decker, for coming today. We're very good friends and we work together a lot, so I appreciate you being here. There are two things I want to mention. One, and they're not questions, but one is I would like to recognize the fireside chats that Carol Egbo does for the Oakland County Parks. They happen pretty much once a month at 7 o'clock. They're Zoom calls, but Carol researches all sorts of topics in Oakland County and then makes a wonderful presentation. I've sat through several of them. If I can get to them, I do. And I believe they're recorded online too if anybody wants to get to them. But she's covered the history of indigenous people, communities that were here and have disappeared. I mean, there's just a wide variety of topics, and I appreciate those. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that, talking about historical preservation, we all worked to try to help preserve Webster School out here in Pontiac, and they just closed on their funding, and they're going to start their groundbreaking, or their new build, on April 3rd. And so I encourage people to be part of that. It's exactly what you're talking about, taking a really important historical building in a community and doing the work to try to preserve it and make it something good and new for the next 100 years. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you mentioned there was 8 commissioners. Do you know what districts they were in? Because those districts had to look a little different than they do now, right? Even on the sheet.
Farmington's one of the first.
The real problem there is that there weren't any districts yet.
Okay.
At that time, there were probably 150 people that lived in the county in total. Most of the county operations were happening out of Detroit.
Okay.
So what they were representing more than districts were different operations. So here's the commissioner that's doing, working with land records. Here's another commissioner that's working towards, community development. They're doing those things, but they're really just being tasked with tasks. Commissions back in the day, a commission really had a different kind of a function. You were put on a commission to, set up a county government. It was, you were doing everything. So they were very nimble, very kind of all over the place. But generally speaking, and when you think of the formation of Oakland County, it formed in 2 places. That would be Avon Township with, Alexander Graham and Stoney Creek in that area, and Pontiac. Those were the 2 earliest communities that came. And from there, the counties began to spread.
Thank you.
It's very fascinating history. I could spend hours on it if you want.
We got all that.
The first commission did everything. This commission does everything. Some things don't change. No, Mr. Decker, thank you very much. Thank you for your Commissioner Hoffman. He was there when it.
That's right. I was.
He sat in the audience. He was a little boy.
It's good to see you again. How are you?
I look pretty good. Hey, speaking of saving schools.
Yes.
Are you able, or are you doing anything to help save the Roosevelt School in the center of Keego Harbor?
We are actually working with Greater West Bloomfield Historical and with actually Oakland County Pioneers, getting a kind of dipping their feet in to try to set up some initiatives to save that building. Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate that. That's like the Webster School. Very historic and iconic.
And we're also working, yes, we definitely want Roosevelt saved. That is, and there's wonderful that there is community interest in saving it. There is a very dedicated and passionate group that is working to get that building protected. The other building to know about is the Rochester High School, which is now the administration building, and the changes that are being made there. It appears the city government's getting interested in saving that building as well, which is actually really great progress in saving it. So that's actually really good news too. So yeah, we're very much interested in that and keeping a real close eye on it. I'm a bit of a nerd about it because what I really want is for them to not only save the building, but let's just get those artifacts that are in that building saved and protected as well. So I kind of have a dual interest in that.
Great. Thank you very much. Any further questions from commissioners? Great. Well, thank you, the board. I mean, thanks all the volunteers that makes this commission work. Thank you for bringing this update. It's amazing the work that you're able to do as a volunteer body, and we look forward to continuing and strengthening our partnership.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. I believe that we also had a proclamation for National Social Workers Month, and I don't think there's action needs to be made. There's a proclamation, and it will be presented and sent to I believe some state association or some Oakland County association, but the proclamation is a matter of record is part of our presentation. Is in the presentation section of our agenda. Next up is communications, and for communications, I will call on our clerk, Lisa Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just had one this morning that was dated March 4th, 2024, and it was a resignation from the Art Institute Authority from Gretchen Adler.
We have the resignation we need to receive and file. This, just for information, is the Republican caucus appointee to the Art Authority, and I know that Commissioner Spiz, Chair Spiz, has been notified, and so whenever a suitable appointee can be made, we will probably make that at the next meeting. And can we get a motion to receive the communication, accept the resignation? Moved by Lube, seconded by Long. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. And let the resignation acceptance be reflected unanimously. This will move us now, Madam Clerk, that's the only communication, correct? Yes. Perfect. This will move us now to our first public comment. This is the opportunity for members of the public to comment on items on the agenda. We have a second public comment to comment on any other item. Got a couple people who signed up, and so I will start with Supervisor Gray from the Great Township of Commerce. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chair Woodward. Good morning once again. Some of you, this is like sixth time you see me talking. So again, I just want to speak on behalf of the CVTs with the fire millage fire dispatch agreements that came out. As I said in the caucus today, I think it's clear that what we need to do moving forward is further communication. Just so you folks know, we received the dispatch agreements on January 31st, and they expired March 31st. That gives CVT 60 days to agree upon a new agreement, which some folks had over 42% increase. Commerce experienced a 30% increase. So I think as we move forward with these types of agreements, especially for those of you that cover townships that have Oakland County Sheriff as their police services, that we need to roll this out a lot quicker. If we're going to have these type of increases moving forward, with Commerce being the third largest township that's supplied or customer supplied by the Oakland County Sheriff Department, at these rates, we're looking at close to $1 million increase. So the two that are above us are Rochester Hills and Pontiac. So whoever commissioners that cover those, you need to be in contact with your mayors and their councils just to prepare them, because these are some large increases. So I agree. Everybody needs what they pay for. What they pay for, we need to pay for what we get. But I just wish that we could have worked this out a little differently. There was other discussions about how we could roll this out. Mathematically, I didn't really agree with what was going on in there. I don't see why we couldn't do 15, 15, and 3. You're still going to have the same end result. But somehow we need to work together on this. So with that, I appreciate it. I hate to run, but I do have a meeting at noon I got to get to. But thank you for your time, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor. Next up, we've got Catherine Kennedy. Welcome back, Ms. Kennedy.
It's been quite a while, as you know. I actually got citizens that called me at home and said, you got to get back there. Nobody shows up anymore. Nobody says a thing. Nobody has any clue what's going on. I look at this agenda and I go, damn, they're right. Okay, to start, the Oakland County Historical Commission, you mentioned the migration, the Great Migration. I hope that's not the illegal invasion of our county. That's actually very disconcerting to me because I've traveled to foreign countries and I'm bilingual. So when I went to the Pontiac Secretary of State and I hear, oye, venga aquí, es muy fácil para obtener los documentos, which means, hey, come here, it's really easy to get the documents. I'm very concerned because across the street from Secretary of State's office is the Social Security Administration office, who's been using masks for a really long time, way beyond the time that you had to, by the way. I actually changed where my money went for my Social Security because the bank, I don't trust them. A lot of the global banks have been working with the World Economic Forum, who created cyber currency to take over United States currency as the global trade mechanism. People don't realize this. Currency means a country that has taxing power to pay the bills. There is no country in the world that supports cyber currency. This was made up by the globalists, the same ones that are telling us, oh, you have to do the robots, you have to convert to all this digital, and they're wiring our woods against our wishes. We just don't know it because they're layered LLCs. I've been doing some investigation on companies, and we need to stop funding all corporations, but especially foreign corporations. The American citizens are being placed into bankruptcy because we're funding all these things. So when, let's see, the QR codes, oh, that's a big one. Megan Phillips explained how they're using biometrics and QR codes. I've objected to QR codes from day one. QR codes were patented in 1994 by Japanese firm Denso Wave for inventory management, complete with data capture and tracking built into the design. So anytime you scan any kind of QR code, you have been tracked by the foreigners. You just don't know it. So the fact that my county, a lot of the utilities are putting QR codes. In fact, AT&T, which I refused their new modem because it had a QR code embedded into it, they turned off my internet January 31st. I had no hardline copper wire internet or phone until February 29th. Gee, the Board of Review was in the middle. I actually got 2 certified letters for nonsense that I had to respond, but I couldn't use a computer. Do you think that's coincidence? I'm not so sure. So the QR codes need to be removed. I actually had to represent myself in U.S. District Court April 19th of this past year. And 694,000 of us had all of our medical data compromised. So all these proposals to give all this data to everyone else is stealing from the citizens. And I resent the fact that the only regular agenda items are every single one from the sheriff.
Public
Not
comment period that
coincidence
you can
either.
come up and speak. Thank you very much. All right, is there anybody else from the public that would like to address the board? See none, we will close the first public comment. Like I said, there's a second public comment at the end of the meeting. This will bring us to reports of standing committees. Starting with the consent agenda, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Weipert, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. This will move us to the regular agenda. And first up, I will, who's the vice? Oh, Commissioner Ann Erickson Galt will come and present the item, the one item that's on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, I have an appointment on the regular agenda, the Huron-Clinton Metropolitan Authority. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the reappointment of Jay Quadrosi to the Huron-Clinton Metropolitan Authority for a 6-year term beginning May 16th, 2024 to May 15th, 2030.
Moved by Commissioner Erickson Galt, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Our appointee, Ms. Quadrosi, has served us well in this capacity as well as many others, and I think it's a great recommendation. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution, or the appointment is confirmed. Commissioner Erickson Galt.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the report of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee.
Thank you very much. Next up, I will call on the Chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee, Commissioner Penny Lubes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in the Public Health and Safety Committee, we have 28 items. I would like to condense 26 into one vote. The 26 being establishing dispatch for police and fire service agreements. Our first item is acceptance of opioid settlement funds and positions creations that I'd like to move, and we have an amendment.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Rahman. And there's an amendment attached. I know that both caucuses have talked about it, so if I can get someone to move that amendment. Moved by Commissioner Long, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. That reduces the creation to one position. And like I mentioned to both, that we should expect a discussion of the second position and would welcome that discussion in our budget process. Any further discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Joliet.
Whether on the amendment or on the in full, I voted against this in committee because it was my concern that we are receiving a large amount of money without a master plan. But I appreciate the amendment put forward, and it looks like that will be now taken under consideration. So I now support the amendment.
Great. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote on the amendment.
Commissioner Hoffman?
This is a vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. This brings us back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as a whole? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Lubes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman? Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes.
Our next item to move is establishment of dispatch services agreement rates April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2027, and positions creation.
And I think we're going to move that with the fire dispatch agreement since they're all tied together.
So the 26 items you'd like to...
Yes. So on the agenda, so it's B through BB. Excuse me, ma'am. We are conducting business, please.
So Chair, would you like me to read the
No, you don't need
agreements
to.
with the
I just
different
want, for
townships?
commissioners that are, I just want to make sure we know what we're doing. So we're going to take the establishment of the rates in all of the fire dispatch and police dispatch contracts as one motion.
Oh, and emergency BB too?
Yes. I mean, it all goes into the same dispatch center. So I think it's fine to take them all together. So moved by Lubes, seconded by Miller. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes, thank you very much. I think some of the concern of the municipalities is that they suggest that it was a short notice about these increases, and that upset them because, of course, they have to adjust their budget. And secondly, we never heard about it until the municipalities started calling us and complaining. And then in the last finance meeting we had, there was a suggestion that we just extend this contract for another year. So these existing contract, so these municipalities can figure out how they're going to pay for it. Because this takes effect in 2 or 3 weeks. So I mean, I'd like to suggest we extend it for a year under the existing terms and conditions of the contract. So I'd like to make that motion.
Well, is that motion? It's going to be incredibly complicated because all of these contracts and some communities have already adopted this contract, and the contract expires at the end of this month. And I don't know how you can do that, and that there's additional positions that are paid for in part by these contracts to be able to support the dispatch services. So I don't know how we do that.
Well, I think the biggest complaint with the municipalities is that indirect cost of approximately 7.3%. I think that's their biggest concern. And I agree that the customer will pay and always pays. That's the way it is, but they receive such short notice that I think there may be a better way to phase it in or something, because they have to figure out how to pay for it.
So, okay. Any other discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, let's prompt the vote.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 4 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the approval of rates and all the contracts with local CVTs has been approved. Commissioner Lubes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That completes our 28 items under Public Health and Safety Committee this morning. We have no other business.
Thank you very much. All right. I believe that all other committees' business was taken up under the consent agenda, and that will move us to new and miscellaneous business. And for the first person, I will recognize Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce miscellaneous resolution support for the Senate Bill 669 through 670 to expand the application of the Freedom of Information Act to the Michigan Legislature and the Governor's Office. And I'd like to have it be referred to the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee.
Referred without objection. I'll recognize Commissioner Lubes for the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce sponsorship of the 2024 Boston Friends of the Library program and refer to finance.
Referred without objection. Next up, who's this? Commissioner Cavell.
Chair, I'd like to refer to finance the sponsorship of Lighthouse of Oakland County and United Way Collaborative Zoning Scan Policy Project.
And refer that to
You said finance.
finance. Okay. Referred without objection. Commissioner Weipert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce Resolution 2024-3985, sponsorship of the Lyon Township International Kite Festival. Refer that to finance.
Referred without objection. And Commissioner Miller for the next one. And this is one that we're going to take up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I request that we suspend the rules to vote on Resolution 2024-3974. It's for the Pontiac Skate Park grand opening to by skateboards that are designed. The design will come from the Pontiac students. So with its quick turnaround, normally I like to go through committee, but with the quick turnaround, we have to get the artwork in because it takes time for the design to get made up and then put on the board so we can have them available. Thank you.
So, and it's like the suspension is a reference to our past, but let's just do it. Move to suspend the rules and take it up by Miller, seconded by Cavell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Rules are suspended. Miller moves the sponsorship of the Pontiac Skate Park project dedication. This is seconded by Commissioner Powell. And this is a project that this county helped build this skate park, and I think it'll be a nice way to commemorate the dedication, but also highlight the branding of Oakland County being part of this. Any further discussion? Seeing none?
Real quick.
Commissioner Miller, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say that Oakland County is recognized as the only county to use the ARPA dollars for something like this in a community. So we're nationally recognized for this with partnership with the Ralph C. Foundation and the Tony Hawk Foundation. And this is actually, the skate park's going to be honored. They're going to honor a gentleman that Mr. Rodriguez, that he's influential in the skate community. He also was just recently killed by a driver that went the wrong way and crashed into him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote. Yes.
Okay, I gotta say it out
It's
loud.
not prompted.
Chair Woodward?
Yes.
Commissioner Lubes? Yes. Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Weipert?
Yes.
Commissioner Markham?
Yes.
Commissioner Cavell?
Yes.
And Commissioner Powell? Yes. Okay, Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient. A sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This will bring us to announcements. That was the last item. I don't think there's any other new and miscellaneous business. This will bring us to announcements. Commissioner Powell, followed by Commissioner Miller.
I just want to let all commissioners know, I've asked Joanne to send the caucus announcements to you all by email. And moving forward, we will have copies, individual copies for you during caucuses moving forward. And I do apologize for today for you not having that information before you. And then with the social worker proclamation that we did for National Social Work Month, I know we have a couple commissioners. I'm not too clear on your background, but I want to say thank you for all of your service and work in that area. I think it's Cavell, Penny Lubes, and Nelson. She works in that as well. So thank you all for your work that you do in that area. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just at the Michigan Traffic Safety Summit, and one thing that I thought might be interesting and help out people, our commissioners and community, they have a flyer. It's the Office of Highway Safety Planning, and I can get some if the commissioners want some. It's how to choose the right car seat for our little ones. So if you guys want them, let me know, or ladies want them, let me know, and we'll get some ordered. Because it's actually simple. It's easy to look at, and there's no crazy like all weights and stuff. It just goes through like numbers. It's really easy. So let me know. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any other announcements? Seeing none, there are a number of community events. I believe Commissioner Marco mentioned the breaking ground of the Webster Community Center. I know our Thrive is hosting an event in Royal Oak, which you're all welcome to come and highlight some of the success that the Business Forward program has been doing. Commissioner Powell.
I also want to thank the Pontiac Chamber of Commerce. Yesterday, in my commissioner role, I received the Spirit of Pontiac Award, and I just want to thank them for that award, being honored for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Seeing no further announcements, we'll end that and bring us back to our last item of the moment, and this is, excuse me, this is the final public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on anything under the sun, and Ms. Kennedy, you signed up, so welcome back to the microphone.
Sad that I'm the only one here, isn't it? Look at the auditorium. I'm the only one here, completely blank.
It's being streamed live, don't worry.
I'm sorry, but it's shocking. Maybe it's because they changed the time to 9:30 in the morning when most people are at work. I actually find it offensive that we started doing full board meetings during the day when most people are working. But we've had some major changes that occurred during those early morning meetings, like the one in February of last year. So I actually have some really basic problems with a lot of what's going on here. The NOTA, transit, all that nonsense. The road commission, I took minutes, nobody else did. This is totally wrong, what's going on in this community. And if you're not going to take care of it yourselves in-house, it still needs to be taken care of. So I actually am very concerned that I actually didn't have a computer to be able to download any of this, to be able to review it in detail like I normally do. But there's a couple that stood out to me. NOTA, in Orion Township, it was voted at the primary that NOTA was funded and also was going to fund the Orion Village DDA by law and the Orion Innovation Corridor, which is the GM EV plant where they're destroying our wetlands to put in the toxic chemicals for the robot plant. So I actually took very great offense to that. And I look here, and I'm an environmentalist, pardon? The NOTA doesn't say what law, doesn't say how much is going there, and the DDA in Orion Village is 38 years old. According to the rules of DDA, was designed for communities that needed to have the support to maintain critical services for the citizens. That's the state law intent. It was done in the 80s when we had problems. So a lot of these proposals that were put in place in the 80s didn't get stopped. They were supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. Well, in Orion, we need $9.3 million for infrastructure. There's no money, of course. They want a separate assessment. But the DDA has collected all the value increases for the past 38 years, 100% of it. And lo and behold, it's not supposed to buy land under the laws, but they have bought a warehouse, a lumber yard. They wanted to float a $5 million bond to buy a $2.4 million lumber yard that needed Brownsfield corrections. So I'm sure they're going to plan to use these funds that we didn't get grant from the county, from the state. I remember that meeting when we applied for the Brownsfield funds. I thought it was only $399,000 it was applied. But Meyer and Lake Orion, before they built that store, they were given $850,000 in Brownfield to clean up that site. That site used to have a Sears gas station oil change. But instead, now they want to put a truck stop directly across where Buckhorn Lake is. According to the wetlands rules, you can't put all those things, and we already had to clean up the site that's
Ms. Kennedy,
further
please wrap
away
up
than
your
what they're
comments. The
developing now.
3 minutes is
All
over.
the front of Lake Orion, if you visit, you'll see a bunch of dirt, just a bunch of dirt. One developer gets it all. That's also restricted. So there's so many things I can't
Thank you,
get.
Ms. Kennedy.
And the Troy schools, I
Thank
want to
you.
know what happened
Okay,
to the 83
Ms. Kennedy,
acres.
your time
You're
is
only
up.
authorizing the
Ms.
71.17, and it used to be 83 acres that
you
Troy
know the
schools
rules.
owned as a conservation
We treat
easement.
everyone
Thank
the
you.
same. Thank you. On that note, we stand adjourned until April 11th, or call the chair.